Quick story. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and we had a good chat about everything going on right now in the world with COVID-19 and the mess and the jobs. The job market is quite messed up right now. So I was telling my friend, you know what, things are going to change. Things are going to get better. But right now, people have to think outside the box. You have to come up with new ways of making things work for you. So we had this candid talk, man talk, if you call it. And then in the process, I told my friend, no, what some of the things you need to do, you need to read so that you come up with new ideas, because I know what you do. I know the skills you may have, but sometimes you don't actually recognize the skills you have until someone points them out. So you see, if you're used to working all the time, you may actually think you don't have any skills, but you do have skills. So I was telling my friend, you know what, you have to think outside the box right now. But he ended up telling me, this is the same thing that motivational speakers do tell us. And this is a phrase that most people nowadays use. But at the end of the day, we require motivation. I think it's one of the most important things. Every day when you wake up, you have to be somehow motivated, because as human beings, we wake up sometimes and you don't feel like doing anything. You just feel like, you need to be lazy. You feel discouraged. Sometimes you feel like your life is not making any sense to you. You feel like you're not making any progress, basically. And with all the mess going on right now, I think it's even worse. So I told my friend, I think you have these skills that you can use, to do something. So how does my story tie in with what I want to talk about? I want to talk about books that people need to read in terms of personal finance and investing. And these are some of the books that have changed people's lives. They have changed people's mindsets. They have changed people's views about so many things. These are some of the books I have read personally, and I love them. I do read them when I need something. I do go back and refer. These are books that, if you read them, you actually see the need to invest, the need to be financially literate. And besides my MBA, I would say that these books have given me much more knowledge than I got in school, actually, because these books are so detailed, and they go into some of the most practical things about personal finance and investing. So let's get into it, guys. Welcome to Ken's Money Matters. Thank you. 100 subscribers more, and I got a message from YouTube. That's a step, and I thank everyone on the platform for subscribing and for liking my videos and stuff. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So as we go on, I would like people to engage me. Tell me what you think. What are some of the books that have changed your life? What are some of the books you've read that you say, you always want to give them to someone, or you always want to reread those books? What are some of those books that you read, And let's have a good engagement in the comments section. So the first book that I have read is by someone called Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Why is this the first book in my list? It's because I always believe in mindsets. I believe in a strong mindset. I believe in building a foundation. I believe that if you do not have the right foundation to do certain things, then you're not in a position to do them. You must have the right mindset, right attitude, and the right motivation for them. And this is the perfect book for it. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A wonderful, wonderful book. It talks about desire, because these are the things that drive you to want something. You must be driven to want something for you to go for it. You must be driven, you must have action, you must have faith. So this book looks at all those, the sixth sense, basically, the brains behind everything we do. And I think that's very important. Before you go into finance, before you go into investment, it is important to have that foundation, that mindset within you. So this is one important book. Get it, please, and read it. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, talking about desire, faith, action, auto-suggestion in the brain, the sixth sense, the brain power, the people around you. It's just an amazing book. And then the second book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This is another amazing book on personal finance. This is mainly for those who want to start, tracking your spending, looking at your personal finances, looking at where does your money go to, knowing how to start the process of investing, basically dealing with debts, dealing with credit cards, dealing with insurance companies. It's basically a very detailed book for beginners, those who just want to start the journey of making sure that their money works for them and that they can invest successfully the money they get, including getting a raise at work. How do you negotiate for a raise? How do you negotiate for certain bills that you pay? How do you get good deals with different companies? So it's a very detailed book. I like it because it's It's focused more on personal finance and personal circumstances of young people who are just starting to this journey of investing in personal finance. So it's a book that I would encourage anyone who wants to pursue this journey of personal finance and investing to go for. Another book, which is my top favorite, is called The Barefoot Investor by Scott Pep. I don't know if that's Pep or Pape, but yes, by Scott Pep. It's a wonderful book. An amazing guy, an Australian. He is one of my favorite writers in terms of personal finance, and he has a community of what we call the Barefoot Investors, which I believe I'm one of them. So this guy is not that he's a barefoot investor. He's actually quite well off now, but he started from a humble foundation, but he's built an empire around finances. So he talks about debt, talks about banks, dealing with bank fees, talks about insurances, talks about tracking your spending, talks about saving money, talks about investing, talks about mutual funds, talks about every single thing you'd want to know in investing. So look for this book, The Barefoot Investor. Read it. It's not a very big book. It's a considerably small book, but very detailed in it, very simple to grasp for most people who are beginning the journey of personal finance and investing. So please get this book and read it. And the next book is Investing for Dummies, Eric Tyson. A wonderful book too. I like it because most of my people are starting to invest. So Investing for Dummies, I know that name sounds a bit dummies, yeah. I don't feel bad about it. I was also a dummy at some point, and I read this book, and this is one of the best books in terms of, giving details, giving process and stages and levels that you need to go to in order to invest and in order to save money, in order to negotiate races at work. Basically, every single thing around income, around investing, around personal finance, Investing for Dummies is good. It also talks about mutual funds. Those who like mutual funds. It talks about hedge funds. It talks about, index funds. It talks about all those vehicles that you can use for investing. So this is a wonderful book. Please, if you can, get this book and read it. It actually gives you certain specific rules, the 20 rules of investing. Very nice. Amazing book. Please get that book. Another one is Complete Guide to Money by Dave Ramsey, one of my favorites finance guys. Dave Ramsey, a very famous guy. He has a show. You can look for that, I think, on YouTube. I'll also talk about his baby steps. He has what we call the baby steps to becoming rich. Basically, he has certain steps he's come up with that if you follow them, you're sure to become a dollar millionaire, like I'm on the journey too. So, Dave Ramsey, a wonderful guy, very conservative, and it's a bit traditional in terms of investing, and I'm also traditional in terms of investing. So I see some kind of likeness. I like his ideas. I like the process. I may disagree with one or two things about him in terms of how he advises people, but I think generally he's a very knowledgeable guy, very straightforward. And this guide, Complete Guide to Money, is one of the best books somebody can actually read. He also has another book that talks about his baby steps. I will review that in one of my videos soon, so stay tuned for that. And then we have The Intelligent Investor. Now, this book is one of the best books for most investors. Most people actually do say that this was their turning point. This was the best thing that happened to them in terms of investing. Now, this is for those who have gone through the personal finances. You've started tracking your expenses. You have your emergency fund. You have your savings. Now you want to invest. How do you go about it for the long term? Now, this book basically talks about, thinking long term. Forget about picking stocks and, selling, trading, basically. But it talks about long-term investing and the returns. So it looks at some of the historical returns in the market, some of the best returns and the worst returns. Look at the averages and comes up with some of the best investment vehicles, which I think is basically index funds. So this book is written by Benjamin Graham, one of the mentors of Warren Buffett, one of the richest, of course, in the realm of stock market and investing. And so I know he's invested most of his money right now, so he may not be richest in the world, but when we talk about stocks, we talk about investing, Warren Buffett is one of the names that is always mentioned because of his ways of investing. So please, this is a wonderful book. Get this book and read it. It's a very good book. Details about index funds, hedge funds, mutual funds. He makes those comparisons and comes up with a very detailed response and detailed analysis of them all. He's a very conservative investor. So for those people who are risk averse, this is the guy for you. And then one of the oldest and favorite books is The Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He's also written what we call the Cash Flow Quadrant, which is an amazing book. The two books are amazing. If you need to read them together. We have The Rich Dad Poor Dad and the Cash Flow Quadrant. The Rich Dad Poor Dad basically talks about his life and the two dads he had. He had the poor dad who was the professor in the university, and the rich dad was basically an investor, So the professor was earning good money, but because his money was basically keeping up with his expenses, he was not able to invest. He did not have financial education, basically. So this meant basically about financial education, financial literacy, how do we get to teach kids about finances? And I find this very important and a good point to wrap this up, because out of all these things we're doing, we are trying to inspire financial literacy among our people, among friends, among family, among everyone in the world, basically. So this is the journey we are on, to try and change people's perspective with regards to finances. So this is a good book. Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about financial literacy. Cash Flow Quadrant talks about the quadrant of the employees, the self-employed, the business owner, the investor. So you decide, where do you want to be? Do you want to be an employee? Do you want to be a self-employed? Do you want to be a business owner? Or do you want to be an investor? And of course, you can be, 2, you can be 3, you can be different quadrants at the same time. Personally, I'm in different quadrants at this particular time. So it's a wonderful book. It gives you a guide on how to manage money. It gives you a guide on what you really want in your life. It gives you a guide on what path you want to choose with regards to investing. So this is, again, one of the best books I've read in my life. There are two books, but I do read them together because I feel like they go together. The first one, Rich Dad Poor Dad, talks so much about assets and liabilities. So for those who are just starting out investing, this is the place to go. And then you go to the Cash Flow Quadrant, which will give you, where do you want to be in life for the long term. So this is a wonderful book by Robert Kiyosaki. One of the richest people, one of the best speakers, one of the best finance guys. So these are some of the books that I do read. Anyways, comment below, tell me which books you do enjoy, which books have changed your view about life. It doesn't have to be financial, but I would prefer if it's if it changed your life with regards to finance. So give me your suggestions and stay tuned for more videos to come. Subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you guys for staying tuned.